when we go in this direction, where a lot of the globalization will be in the digital domain, and as Dr. Habibi mentioned in the morning, you want to be hyper-local on the production and things like that. If you go and look at the vision people are pushing, you want a lot more digital commerce, a lot more digital interaction. Even now, many meetings are happening virtually, and then AR, VR, remote driving, so many applications are coming and are talked about so much, right? So this talk, I'm going to highlight the role of communications as it is moving forward, 5G, 6G, and the challenge of cybersecurity, right? So the talk title, as you can see, is Navigating the Cyber Frontier, Cyber Threats, Intelligence, and Advanced 5G, 6G Technology. So the summary of the talk here, we all know that 5G has been around for a while. I don't think it has been yet rolled out in Indonesia in a big way because of some spectrum challenges, which has just been sorted out, as was mentioned, and hopefully it will start getting rolled out soon. And then I was recently in 3GPP held a meeting in Bangalore, and I was there, and there was a lot of discussion about 6G, that by 2030, 6G will be here, and already the standardization bodies have started thinking about what will be in 6G. So the big point is 5G, advanced 5G, and eventually 6G. They will all come in the next few years. What will it mean for us as users, as entrepreneurs, as individual members of society? How will it impact us? And how does all of that relate to cybersecurity? Right? That's where I'm coming from, right? So let's at a very high level look at what are the key features promised in 6G, right? So as you can see, what we are saying here is that we will be able to have fancier applications. See, some of these applications we have already talked about. You know, massive IoT. Everywhere there will be pervasive sensors, cameras, all sorts of other sensors, air quality sensors, motion sensors, which will all be communicating, and they'll be all feeding into some big AI cloud system. Right? That's the direction we are going. Right? And the second part of it would be all these augmented reality kind of things, or remote autonomous driving, remote control of drones. You have seen this already in military applications. Drones are being controlled remotely and being fired, right? So you are seeing this, these things start as advanced military applications and eventually become civilian applications and become widely used. So to enable that, 5G and 6G technology have this thing called ultra-reliable low-latency communication, where you want very reliable communication and you want very low round-trip times, right? And of course, 5G and then 6G beyond that will have higher data rates, so you can watch even more 8K and even beyond that audio video. The second aspect that is happening is quantum communication and quantum computing is on the verge. So even how quantum will play a role if you go to the 2030 timeframe is something that is of interest. And related to that is we use cryptography a lot, right? All our SSL and transport layer security, TLS, HTTPS, all of them are using cryptography. But most of that cryptography is based on hardness of factoring, RSA and its variants. As you come to the post-quantum world, you have to move to post-quantum cryptography also, right? So that will also have an impact on cybersecurity. So these are some of the, and of course, AI is going to be a big part. AI is being put even at every level in the communication stack and every level in the application domain also, right? And of course, what AI does is it uses massive amounts of data. So a lot of data privacy issues come from that. Let me move on. Sorry, this is the same slide, right? Okay. Now, the question is, what does it mean from a threat perspective? See, when you are going to have all the information about you being collected all the time, you're walking through today you're walking in the street, there are cameras recording you. In fact, this is probably true much more in places like in some countries where they have pervasive surveillance already. You're walking around, facial recognition happening. They know exactly where you are and where you've been. Somebody can say, okay, Huzur Saran, let's dig it up from the database. In the last 6 months, where all he has gone, right? He was walking and talking to so-and-so that day. All that information can be collected about you, right? Once you have a pervasive surveillance and a pervasive integration of that data, right? Now, of course, regulatory constraints can be put in democratic societies to prevent anybody from having that kind of deep invasion of your privacy, because this also leads to invasion of privacy. As you know, there was some talk that I think Uber got banned in some country because Uber or some equivalent to Uber, because Uber knew where the government officials were going, who they were meeting, right? So there was an incident like that. So point is that with all this pervasive data which is being collected and now being integrated, and then the use of AI on top of it, so that you can make much more granular sense of the data. So that leads to a huge threat from two perspectives. One is, as I said, the privacy perspective. The second is that when these data are getting collected, the other side of the picture is the organizations who are collecting the data get hacked. Right? You read about, so many millions of credit card data was stolen from Target, which is a huge US store. And those 30 million records and all the information, phone numbers, email addresses, credit card numbers, name, who else, and what all you bought, all that data suddenly with hackers. And that keeps happening because the other part is, once you collect a lot of data in a database and have it in an IT system, the challenge of keeping it secure is very hard. See, the attacker has to win once. And you have to keep defending all the time. See, this is not directly related, but I'm just illustrating it. See, whatever happened in Israel and Gaza, I'm not commenting on the aspect of the fighting and all that, but the Israelis claimed that they had very good security and the Gazans could never do anything to them. And for the last 10 years, that was probably true. But on one day, it was not true. Right? That is the challenge with security as a problem. I'm not talking about that incident, but I'm saying security as a problem, that even if you have the best resources, the most sophisticated defense structure, the attacker has to win on one day and you have to keep defending every day, assuming the attacker is coming today. And us being humans, after a point, we become more and more confident that our defenses are very good, we have very good cyber security, we have very good data governance practices, and then one day somebody finds a chink in it. Right? So that is the other challenge with cyber threat, which is where you need a very sophisticated cyber threat intelligence framework, where the threats are coming from, being aware of that, sophisticated analytics to keep track of it is very important. So when I say cyber threat intelligence, what do I mean? So as you can see here, you want to look at, first of all, you have to plan that what is it you're trying to defend, what all information you need to keep track of, what all attempts to attack you need to keep track of, what all potential sources of threats are out there, and how do you know what the sources are, and how they are evolving with time, because these are not static, right? So that is the planning and direction part. Then you have to collect a lot of data, every attack attempt, everything going through your different firewalls, failed attack attempts, right? All of that has to be collected and analyzed. So the part about collection is easy. The part about processing and analysis is tough. How do you analyze it? And that is again where you can use artificial intelligence techniques, but you need to know what you want to do. It's non-trivial. So that is where a lot of sophistication is there in doing the analysis and processing. And the scale is very large, so of course you need very good infrastructure to be able to do this. You need very sophisticated infrastructure, and that's a huge expense in itself. And the amount of data you will gather, every day you will gather hundreds of gigabytes or terabytes of data, and then you have to process it, right? And then if you detect threats targeted to specific applications or specific companies or specific entities within your organization, then you have to get that information to the people who control those entities, that you have to take steps to prevent this threat from being. So if you see that there's a lot of attacks happening to a certain web service, then you have to tell the owner of the web service, people are trying to attack you. Please go and review your security, right? So that part is the dissemination aspect. And of course, this is a closed loop, so you collect feedback all the time to see how you can keep improving. Right? So as I have sort of said, this is just saying it another way. So cyber threat intelligence is data-driven. It's not that you just have some assumptions and then you keep saying, these are the way the attackers will happen and I will defend accordingly. It has to be data-driven. It has to be flexible. You have to keep adjusting to the threat as it happens and as it evolves. You have to look at everybody outside and see who's attacking you, so that it has to be externally focused. It has to be comprehensive. You have to look at physical security. You have to look at internal security. See, when comprehensive, when I say internal security, see, if you are a large organization, any company, any organization, you have a lot of IT people who work for you, right? One of these IT people have a lot of privileges. They have a lot of access, right? If one of those IT persons tomorrow doesn't get his promotion and gets annoyed with your company, or somebody manages to hack that IT person's laptop or home, and through him he hacks your organization. So that is the aspect of internal security you have to worry about. When I say comprehensive, there's external threats, there is your own humans that you belong to your organization, how much each one of them, you have to trust them, of course, but how much? And how do you monitor that? So trust but verify. Now, of course, to make all of this work, you need to build a security assurance ladder. You can't keep monitoring everything to the same level. So you have to figure out what aspects of your workflow are low risk, what are medium risk, what are high risk. If this is lost, then like credit card data is lost, or data about your people is lost, or banking transactions are compromised, leading to loss of money. These are high risk versus medium risk versus low risk. So you have to build that ladder and design your threat intelligence framework and your protection framework correspondingly. Now, of course, you also have to ask yourself, who's the attacker? See, this is the part that there are attackers, as you know, in the cyberspace, all sorts of attackers are there. There are small people who are just calling you on the phone and trying to convince you to do something which will make you transfer some money to them somehow. Right? All sorts of SMSs come, all sorts of small scams are there where a few tens of thousands of Indian nation rupiah or equivalent are stolen. And these guys are just saying, we will send a lot of messages, some of them will reply and we'll make some money. So this is a low-end operation, and the loss is also small. Then you have people who are deliberately targeting, and organized criminal gangs, who are saying, let me try to attack an organization. There are examples of ransomware that we are all aware of. And for example, there was a very widely reported one in India itself. One of our hospitals got hacked, and the criminals wanted money to de-encrypt the data. There was another instance in the US where a colonial pipeline, a petrol pipeline, basically a refined products pipeline which carried from the refinery to the big cities, petrol and diesel, got hacked. And because it got hacked, the pumps won't operate. Because the pumps won't operate, they couldn't supply diesel and petrol to the places like New York and Boston, and there were lines in the petrol pump because suddenly petrol pumps didn't have petrol, right? And all caused by a IT hack of a very old computer system which was controlling the petrol pumps, controlling the pumps in the pipeline. And they asked for $5 million. They were paid $5 million. Later, the law enforcement agencies paid using what? How do you make payments for ransomware? We're using crypto, basically Bitcoin in this case. But then the FBI traced the crypto and grabbed back 3.75 million out of the 5 million and arrested those guys, at least some of the participants. So the assumption that crypto is not traceable is also not strictly correct, right? So what we are seeing is that there are these organized criminals trying to make money using cyber tools. And they are able to employ probably your own disgruntled employees who can get paid twice as much working for the criminal organization as for you. Of course, that is an exaggeration, but they are able to find people to help them because it is a highly paying opportunity. So you have that level of threat. And then at the top level, of course, you have nation states who are attacking each other for various strategic purposes. And they are very well resourced, right? So defending against, so when you're saying, I'm going to defend and design my security, if you are a private company, can you really afford to defend against a nation state threat? Probably not. It's very hard to do that, right? If the nation state is really targeting you, it's much harder. Right? Your nation state has to help out, right? Which is where, for critical infrastructure, every country now has a critical infrastructure protection strategy, cyber infrastructure protection strategy. Your telecoms, your banking, your petroleum pipeline and things like that, they all are using IT. And your electricity grid, all of them need protection. And we have to design that, right? So where is all this technology being used? As I said, I've already mentioned it. All sorts of sensing. Even nowadays, Wi-Fi can be used for sensing. The Wi-Fi signal here is bouncing around against our bodies. Somebody sitting outside, just looking at the Wi-Fi signal, you can use it as radar and figure out how many people are sitting there and how many are walking. The technology for that, the research for that is available. People can read papers, MIT, and there are a lot of papers like that, how you use Wi-Fi and other radio signals in a room sitting outside to detect the motion, human motion. Even you can find out if somebody is breathing, his chest is going up and down, that motion can be detected. You can figure out his breathing rate, right? So smart sensing in 6G and beyond could actually be very pervasive. I mentioned about critical infrastructure. This is a diagram of a typical electrical grid with a standard IEC bug, and a simple analysis will show you there are a lot of potential ways this can be attacked. Again, I'm not going into it. I just had that slide because I mentioned about electrical grid protection. I already talked about the fact that remote driving vehicles, and then there is this whole intelligent transport system. If you look at the transport system, it can be made far more sophisticated. See, as Shri Habibi mentioned in the morning, Bali is looking to have an all-electric vehicular system, and maybe it's also all smart. So maybe eventually there won't be any taxi drivers. It'll all be automatic in the fullness of time, right? These things are, with technology, in the beginning it looks like this could never happen, and then suddenly it happens everywhere. If you think of smartphones, 10, 15 years ago, nobody had seen a smartphone, right? Then it came and it suddenly rapidly changed everything, right? So same way, if you look at 10, 15 years beyond, whatever the number, we don't know the number, right? These kinds of transport systems may become hyper-intelligent. Even crossings, red lights at crossings may become intelligent and may automatically switch at the right time based on the traffic. These are already proven technologies in some way. It is just the cost and the scale that has to happen. Now, what if this thing gets hacked? If a hacker takes control of your Bali's transportation network, he hacks one computer and takes control of it, what is the chaos he can cause? He can stop everybody going from any place to anybody, right? This is the flip side of it, which is where the threat intelligence, the threat monitoring, the threat analysis needs to happen. Now, finally, one aspect that we must, I was talking to Ade yesterday, and we were discussing this aspect. See, technology has already, as we said with smartphones, become far better than it used to be. If you, 15 years ago, if you had to pay somebody $100,000 or something, then you had to go to the bank, get a cashier's check. It was a long process, right? And I was mentioning to her that we had an incident only 2 days ago in IIT Delhi. Some young student, second-year student, she comes from a rural area, and she suddenly started getting some calls saying, your parents are very sick, they need to be admitted to hospital, please send so much money. She got panicked, she borrowed money from her fellow students and transferred almost 1.5 lakh rupees, which is like $2,000-3,000, but it is a lot of money for a student, first year, second year, undergraduate student. She transferred it, and then later she was asking some senior student, please give me some money. So the senior student started asking, why do you need the money? And then when they dug up a little bit more, it turned out it was all a scam. And she had made 10, 15 transactions of few thousand rupees each, transferring that money. Because now, with mobile phone, you can make instant payments. The flip side of it is, you instantly ended up transferring a lot of money and got scammed, in this case. This is something, if the speed of money transactions was poor as it was earlier, you had to go here and there, write a check, mail it to them. Things could have been found out much before that. But now, since the speed of transactions is bad, you panic somebody, make them make a hasty decision. You can easily cheat them for a very substantial amount, much more than their paying capacity. So this is the problem. This is the human problem. As I was discussing, one problem is everybody has a bunch of credit cards, some mobile phone PIN, some credit card PIN, some banking password. They add up to be more than 3, 4. The moment they are more than 3, 4 passwords, the human brain is not capable of remembering them. You don't, well, average human brain, average person, even I, there are only 4 or 5 different passwords I end up using. Not more, because you can't. You can't remember them. Then the next time you log in, you say, oh, which one was it? And you get confused. Otherwise, you have to start writing it down. The moment you write it down, when your wallet gets stolen, both your credit card and your PIN gets stolen, right? And the bank is no longer responsible because you used your PIN, right? So what I'm trying to say is, yes, technology has evolved very rapidly, but how do you make the technology work well with humans? Right? Humans have certain psychological attributes. It is easy to make somebody panic, they are busy doing something else, and you get some call. Again, to illustrate. So 2 days ago, my brother calls me, says that today I got a call. First I got a call that this is a call from Federal Express, which is a courier company. Your package has been caught by customs. To find out more, press 9. So he pressed 9, suddenly it went into a call center. The call center says, yes, we are from customs. Please tell me your details. He said, I am so-and-so, this is my number. He says, okay, you have a package you sent to Vietnam which has been returned because it had illegal substances in it. He said, well, I didn't send any package. He says, no, what is your name? My name is so-and-so, my mom number is so. He says, your Aadhaar number, your passport number and so-and-so? Yes, yes. He says, no, but this package was sent by you. Now there is going to be a criminal investigation of this. Right? Please talk to a police officer. And the police officer will talk to you only on Skype. And this is the ID of the police officer. He showed you an ID card, sent you a photo of an ID card of a police officer, Inspector so-and-so. So he said, okay, he downloaded Skype, he started talking to that fellow. The fellow started saying, okay, give me the details. When did you send the package? This, that, right? This guy was confused. I never sent any package. It was not sent by me. But the result of all of that was that they got him so confused that they were about to ask him for money next to make the problem go away. He suddenly realized, and he had another call, so he was busy with that, so he hung up. And then he realized. But the point is, even sophisticated, he's otherwise the head of an IT company. Point is, they make it appear so. These scamsters are very clever. They try with 500 people, and if 5 of them get conned, they make their money. Right? So the human factor of the whole thing is something we have to worry about. Right? That is one aspect that sometimes gets overlooked. We say, oh, we will have this firewall, this intrusion prevention system, this very advanced AI. But in the end, the average user is still programmed the way he was 500 years ago. In terms, he may have been educated, you say keep educating him, but humans trust each other normally. They see each other, somebody calls you, you do take things on trust. That is our nature. That is how we were evolved as as social animals. Right? So that is the aspect that these scamsters take advantage of. So that's why I'm saying wherever you design, whatever regulatory framework you design, right, whatever other structure you design, you have to think about the human factor. Right? For the average user, not just the sophisticated user. Right? That's the point. And then, of course, whatever you say, attacks will happen. It's not that you will not suffer attack. Bad things will happen, and things that affect large sections of an organization or a city or a city-state government could happen. You have to plan for that, have drill management for that, have a cyber sort of crisis management framework. If the grid attacks and power suddenly goes away, if a telecom infrastructure suddenly gets attacked and nobody can make calls, how are you going to deal with it? If your organization has not planned for it, has not done repeatedly drilled for it, you will not be able to respond efficiently and effectively. Right? So that is where there are industry standards, cybersecurity assurance frameworks, there are cyber drills. I will not go deep into this. We can take this offline. But you need to follow all the norms and have a lot of drill and planning to be able to be successful with many of these things. Okay? So I'll stop there, and if there are any questions, I'm welcome. Any questions if you have any. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Huzur Saran. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. Give the mic there, please.
Yes, I will be.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the excellent presentation. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot about 6G. I got a very simple question. In order to make, and we discussed this before already, informally at the table, in order to make a new generation of network successful, there's always something called a killer application. Something that really wants the telecom companies and also the user to use that particular network and pay for it because they really need it. What kind of killer application do you foresee for 6G vis-a-vis 5G? But because even for 5G is not really there yet, we don't have a killer application there yet. 6G is still, I think, 2030 or say, you said around that. But what kind of killer application will there be, in your view? Thank you. That's my only question.
So that's a very valid question. Like most of the places where 5G has been rolled out. See, 5G, when it was originally proposed, it had 3 legs like a stool. It had, the 3 legs were enhanced mobile broadband, EMBB, which stood for higher speed, higher data speeds. So if you could, whatever you were doing earlier would happen at higher data rates, at higher quality. That was so if you had 2 GB of data earlier, you would have 20 GB of data earlier, whatever the number, right? That was the enhanced mobile broadband. The second leg was massive Internet of Things, right? Now, if you look at it, despite all the talk, is there any city in the world where 1 million IoT devices are rolled out and connected? I don't think so, right? If you say I'm going to have sensors all over the city, for any large city there will be hundreds of thousands of sensors or more, right? And then they will have to be connected. But the point is, current levels of technology, including the current version of 5G, still does not support huge number of devices, like for example, smart metering. Electricity meters and gas meters and water meters, putting a little 4G, 5G, 6G chip in it so that it can communicate its reading, and you can also do dynamic pricing for electricity and gas or whatever, so the price can go up when the demand is high and go down. All of those things are possible. But the point is the cost of implementing it. The smart meters are there. The smart meters are not too expensive now. But if I have to roll out to every consumer in, let's say, Bali or Jakarta, 15 million or 10 million consumers, I don't know what the number is, many millions of consumers, homes. Homes will be less than the number of people, so it will be maybe 1 in 3, 5 million homes and electricity meters in Jakarta. To roll out to 5 million electricity meters, if the cost of the chip and the monthly subscription of the telecom operator is even 50 cents a month or 20 cents a month, it still adds up 5 million consumers. I am going to be able to pay millions of dollars to the telecom authority. The electricity authority will say, no, that's a lot of money. I can ask just people to take photo of their meter and send it to me for free. And I will use that for billing. Right? That's what in India, you can take your meter, take a photo of it, upload it, and that way the meter reader doesn't have to come to your home, and they will generate the monthly bill from that. That doesn't cost the utility anything, right? Where the monthly bill is only $10, $15 a month, to expect somebody to pay, the utility to pay even 50 cents a month for the telecom charges is not viable. So the economics has not yet, the technology, the enabling technology for massive IoT, which was supposed to be part of 5G, has still not reached the level where the operator can really offer millions of connections at very cheap prices for IoT use, right? So despite the promise, that has not happened. If it were to happen today, you would roll it out like crazy, right? So if you worked out, come up with a better version of it. Similarly, the third leg of the stool was ultra reliable, low latency communication. All this remote control, of course, the most popular high visibility applicator is remote surgery, right? Now, remote surgery is way off, but even remote control of vehicles or drones or something, if the URLC was made available, you could do that. You could have your Uber driver sit at home and drive your Uber or Grab, right? So theoretically, these things are possible, and in demonstration, they have been demonstrated also. But to roll it out at scale, the economics, the technology is still not mature enough. So I would say even AR, VR, all these applications that people have been talking about for years, the question is, when do they get to the economic viewpoint where the technology becomes able to offer millions of users at low cost points, right? And that evolution has still not happened. There's a question there. How am I doing for time? Let me know if we need to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor. Very enlightening session there. So the case which you mentioned about the ransacking of some of the digital assets, and then they had to pay back the $5 million, and they were able to track it back, get something back from the blockchain and stuff. So my question would be, since there's been research, maybe even from IIT Delhi or Indian government or stuff, or has there been a kind of a collaboration or something which is happening to prevent this, especially the national assets, right? So example, our
Definitely
defense
there is,
capabilities and stuff. So how that could be done and how that could be collaborated. Thank you.
Okay. So let me say two things. First of all, cybersecurity is, as some would say, a wicked problem. What do I mean by a wicked problem? So if you say, okay, this is one very clever solution that, thank you. This is one very clever solution that solved the whole problem. See, some problems are like that, sorting or other kinds of things, doing good smart payments. These problems, with a clever design, with a lot of this thing, you can come up with one solution that just solves it, right? The problem with cybersecurity is it's a different kind of problem. It's like saying you have a mattress which is all bent out of shape. You say press down here, then it will become okay. When you press down here, this goes up. When you press down here, this goes up. What's happening is, with cybersecurity, there is a large IT system. That IT system has many potential places it can be attacked, right? So you say, I'll protect this part, but then that part gets attacked. When you protect all the system, the human people start getting attacked. See, the nature of the problem is such that it has a ever-changing shape. You can't say one solution will fix it. That's one part you must appreciate about cybersecurity. It is a much more different kind of problem from many other engineering problems. And it is, by its nature, a multi-dimensional problem. There is the human aspect, there is the process aspect, there is the management aspect, and then there is the technology aspect, right? So yes, what you said, research on this has to happen. I agree. At IIT Delhi, I personally had a center of excellence in cybersecurity, and we are working very actively. We have a collaboration with Kyushu University, Japan, where we are partnering, and on the IoT side, security and Internet of Things, we are working very actively. We have support from the Ministry of Information Technology of Government of India on that. So definitely we are doing research, and other IITs, Professor Desai is there, Professor Venkatesh will be talking later about payment systems and things like that. So different IITs and other institutions are working in collaboration with even international institutions. And as far as Comsnets Society is concerned, we are also very actively pursuing this area. And we have a lot of members all over the world who are active in this. So yes, this is an area of tremendous research, and collaboration will be very beneficial, even to know what's the best thing you can do given the current state of the art. But the other part you must realize is, cybersecurity is not something that one trick will solve it. So that is the part you must always remember.
Thank you. Any other questions for Professor Huzur? Yes, silakan Bapak.
Thank you, sir, for my time. I just want to know whether cryptocurrency is popular in India. I just want to know the development of this. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so cryptocurrency has always been a little controversial. In India, I think they have officially banned it. And GV will know more about it when he talks about payment systems. In India, officially it is banned. But yes, for a while, that ban happened only a year and a half ago. Before that, there were a lot of advertisements of all sorts of cryptocurrency. Other than cryptocurrency, there are also a lot of gaming apps, betting apps, sports betting and others. So there are a lot of these kinds of online things that are happening. But yes, as far as cryptocurrency particularly is concerned, in India they have banned it because they don't want that to be used as an illegal way of doing money transfers. They want to control that. How effective the ban is a separate question. Because you can ban something, but somebody downloads an app and does it. Only if you find out you can prosecute him, but you won't find out often. So that is the other part of it.
Thank you. Terima kasih Pak, mewakili saya juga bertanya tentang cryptocurrency. So thank you for your question. Any other question for Professor Huzur? Yes, one more. Silakan Bapak.
Yeah, thank you. That was a nice presentation, and you brought up issue that most cyber attacks actually come from human manipulation, like not necessarily technology-related attacks. That was a really good point, and I think everyone here should know that cyber security is not of IT people concern. It's everybody's concern. So, so far, I have an impression that when we talk about cyber security, cyber attacks, digital and something like that, it's all related to IT people, people with IT background. But maybe in this opportunity, you and maybe some colleague from PSSN, yeah, our Indonesian cyber body, cyber crime body, can also create awareness that cyber attacks, cyber crime is not necessarily to do with IT related things. It can happen to housewives, to students, to anybody, and including people with disabilities and people who have problems, and elder people also can be vulnerable to cyber attacks. Yeah, so my question is actually, maybe you know what is the best practice that is already available around the world, and that is to do not with the technology, but with creating awareness and including creating some limitation to policymakers, because you brought up another issue which say if you have a credit facility, the bigger you have, maybe you can withdraw more money from your mobile apps. That means you are more vulnerable to attacks, right? So maybe you know what is the best practice, and maybe our guy from Indonesia also can mention that it's not only about technical matters, but it's more psychological, social, and culture maybe. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks, you made a very valid point. And what I would say is that, first of all, as you said, everybody among us, everybody in society now, is using at least a smartphone or something like that. Plus, they are using net banking, payment systems, they're using social media, where they're sharing their photographs or their opinions or their videos. Even small children are doing it, right? So, any of them can be attacked. Your mobile phone could be attacked, and your videos and photos stored in your mobile phone could be stolen and made public. In many cases, that itself could be embarrassing to you, right? So what I'm trying to say is, the first thing is awareness building, and it should happen at the school level itself. See, just like even 20 years ago, or when we were children, we used to have somebody from the police come and train us about traffic. How do you cross the road safely? Basic sense of traffic, basic sense of fire safety. You have these drills in schools. Most places they have. Similarly, some level of cybersecurity awareness. You're using a phone. How should you do it? What you have to worry about? If somebody contacts you on your phone, sends you a message, you should not panic. This is how you should deal with it. Some level of awareness has to be built in adult education centers, in schools, in, if you, as you said, housewives, so maybe then you need to help them get trained through some communication, some social environment in which they meet. You can have a talk and some understanding, right? So that is one part. Just building awareness is one part of it. Even when you're setting passwords, what you should do, what you should not do. How do you practically deal with passwords? When somebody sends you an SMS, somebody unknown calls you, what are you supposed to do, right? Do you believe them, don't believe them? So all this kind of thing. Some level of social awareness of our cyber should be there just for, and I think the place to start is schools and colleges. Whether you have to do anything with technology or not, you are an arts major, still you need to know this much, right? That is first level of this thing you need to do. And beyond that, of course, in the policy formulation level, there is again a lot of thought that needs to be applied. As you said, if you do allow payment systems, then you have to make sure that you force people to have default limits so that large transactions don't happen without some very serious level of authorization, right? If you want your payment system to allow more than 50,000 rupiah of transactions, you go to the ATM or the branch and sign and authorize it. But average user doesn't need to do it because he will not normally do large transactions. So I'm just saying this policy framework also needs to think it through. Okay. That's my suggestion. Of course, it needs much more detailed thinking, but I think that is an aspect we should not forget. That's all I wanted to bring out in this talk.
Thank you, Professor Huzur. Another question for Professor Huzur? Another question? Anybody else? Okay, I think that wraps your talk, Professor Huzur. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, for your patience as well in handling all the questions. And last but not least, talking about blockchain, CBDC, and data privacy from Suscan Technologies Limited, Bangalore, let us welcome Professor Venkatesh to the stage.